Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 50s male, married my wife 4 years ago. I don't have any kids of my own. She has a son, now 18, who just started his first year of college. To be blunt, he's never liked me. Even when we first met, he made it very clear that he thought I was the reason his parents didn't get back together, even though they had been divorced 5 years by then. He has never shown me any respect. He only ever talks to me when he wants something, usually money. And the rest of the time, he acts like I don't exist. His mom has always asked me to forgive him, to cut him slack. He's just a kid. But I gave up trying long ago. I stopped expecting any relationship there. I figured once he went off to college, it would just be easier all around. Anyway, just before he left for school, my wife threw a big party at my house to celebrate. It was going fine until during his little speech, he publicly thanked everyone except, and I quote, "the effer who married my mom." I shut the whole party down right there, told him to get out, it's my house. My wife wasn't happy, but I warned her she could leave with him if she wanted. She stayed. Fast forward to a few days ago, we got a phone call. Her son and a few of his friends were arrested for vandalism and property destruction. They smashed up a car that belonged to a kid from another campus after some college party. Charges are being pressed and they need a lawyer. My wife wanted me to hire one immediately. I refused. I told her it's a hill I'm happy to die on. He is an adult now. He can face the adult consequences of his actions. I told my wife she's free to help him if she wants, but I'm not paying a dime. In all honesty, I'm strangely satisfied. My wife and her moronic ex-husband never parented that kid. As a result, he ended up a complete unempathetic, boundary-stomping asshole. I warned my wife this is what will happen if they keep up, and look where we are. I think it's about time the kid learned that life doesn't work the way he thinks it does. Now she's furious. Her family is furious. And they all say I'm being petty and cruel, but I don't see it that way. Am I wrong? Edit. His father has 4 more kids he can barely afford to feed. He isn't able to chip in for a lawyer. Update. Well, here's where things stand now. My wife left a couple days ago to go stay with her sister. We've only exchanged a few cold texts since. And honestly, I think the marriage is probably done. Her son is still in jail. I've talked to a lawyer and have been informed it will be a felony and not a misdemeanor if a lawyer can't talk the prosecution down to being lenient. Well, the kid got no lawyer. Her family has been running around trying to pull together for a lawyer, but they're short. And they keep circling back to me. Over the past few days, I've had several of her family members show up at my house, trying to convince me to help. Most were just pleading, though they were getting increasingly threatening. Then yesterday, her brother showed up and offered to crush my head in if I didn't pay up. That was it for me. I texted my wife and told her if this is how her family wants to handle things, she can stay gone. I have a prenup. I'm not worried about my finances in a divorce. I'm still getting daily calls and texts. Honestly, I'm tired. I've been seriously thinking about just taking a vacation, unplugging from all of this for a bit, and letting them all deal with this, and letting them all deal with their own mess. You're not the a-hole, OP. It's your money, and you can decide if you want to spend it on getting your stepson a lawyer or not. I was going to say that you should help your stepson out, but then I changed my mind after your wife's brother threatened you like they were entitled to your money. You're right. Your stepson is learning a valuable life lesson, and he has no one to blame but his parents who didn't teach him how to be respectful and let him get away with everything, including disrespecting you. Take that vacation, OP. It sounds like a better thing for you to spend your money on right now. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for excluding my wife and kids from vacations that are meant for my nuclear family? Throw away for privacy. Background. My mother 68 female raised my sister 36 female and me 38 male in extreme poverty. I won't go into excruciating detail, but there were many nights where my mom wouldn't eat just so my sister and I could have a decent meal. Fortunately, my sister and I were able to make something of ourselves and acquire jobs that gave us significant economic mobility. As you can imagine, vacations were never an option growing up. However, my mom would talk about the various places she wished we could visit as a family. When my sister and I became more financially secure, we began taking our mom to said destinations, averaging about one a year. These trips are very important to my nuclear family and serve as a way for my sister and I to thank our mom for her countless sacrifices. This started about 10 years ago. Now my sister is married to a great guy. They have 2 kids. I also have an amazing wife that has blessed me with 3 children. Current issue. I've explained the above to my wife, however, she thinks these trips are exclusionary and feels the entire family should attend. Currently, my family takes at least 2 vacations a year, one that's just us, sometimes with grandma, and one where we go somewhere with my sister's family as well, always with grandma. I definitely understand that I'm taking one more vacation than my wife per year, and I said I wouldn't have a problem with her taking her own vacation that's to her specifications. For example, girls' trip, solo vacation, staycation, vacation with the siblings, etc. She's never taken me up on this offer and insists the issue is the exclusionary piece of these trips. She feels they should be another trip that includes the entire family. The kids are young, oldest is 5, so I don't think they're impacted too much, and when they're older, I'll do my best to explain the significance of these trips to them. Also, my brother-in-law is very supportive and encourages us to go as often as we can. I honestly don't see myself backing down from the nature of these trips, but I also don't want them to cause unnecessary conflict in my marriage. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for going on these trips even though my wife feels excluded? If so, I welcome any recommendations on remedying the situation. Edit. It seems I've conflated nuclear family and origin family. Thanks all for pointing that out. I'm reading your comments and appreciate your insights. Information edit. My wife and I take about 1 trip every 6-ish months. That's just the 2 of us. Some are staycations, where we get a hotel in our city and explore, but most are true destination vacations. Our average getaway is about 7 to 10 nights, childcare depending. Post-marriage, the longest trip my origin family and I have taken was 7 nights. That was pre-kids though. Post-children, the average trip is 3 to 4 nights. Information edit 2. No, my mom doesn't come on the trips that are reserved for my wife and me, LOL. The vacation layout is such, per year, 1 that's my mom and sister, 2 that are wife and me, 1 that's nuclear family, sometimes grandma, 1 that's the entire family, my family plus sister's family plus grandma. The trips are to various destinations. We've done camping, domestic travel, and international travel. And yes, I'm willing to revisit an area that either party would like to travel. The trips with my wife are definitely nicer. She's more into big cities and loves to explore by day and club by night. That definitely adds up. When I'm with my mom and sister, we're typically at the hotel by 7. And none of these trips present any financial hardship for my family whatsoever. I would cancel everything to prevent my wife and kids from experiencing anything close to what my original family endured when I was young. Update. I showed this thread to my wife, which resulted in a very fruitful discussion. Apparently, she has never liked the trips my sister and I took with our mom, even prior to our marriage. I was completely shocked, as she has never alluded to feeling this way. We discussed where these feelings were coming from, and eventually she stated our yearly trips remind her of her tumultuous relationship with her parents. And whenever I'm gone, it makes her abusive upbringing all the more apparent. My wife and her parents haven't spoken in years. I won't go into detail, but there is some unprocessed trauma there. I've encouraged my wife to seek therapy for this in the past, but she's always insisted it wasn't an issue. During our conversation, we identified other areas of my wife's life that have been impacted by her past experiences. She now thinks it's a good idea to seek therapy to reconcile the past hurt her parents have done. Obviously, I will support her through this, and we will make any necessary changes to facilitate the healing process. Thank you to everyone who provided constructive feedback. Regardless if you thought I was the a-hole or not, most of you came from a helpful place. For those who used this as an opportunity to tear me down and insult me or my wife or my mother, I hope you're pleased from whatever turmoil life has placed on you. Have a great day, everyone. I wouldn't call you an a-hole, OP. You seem to genuinely care about your wife, sister, and mother. I understand you and your sister wanting to give your mother those trips that you all couldn't afford back then. And I understand how you can presume that taking the rest of your family on those trips would make it a different vacation. I'm glad you spoke to your wife about this and uncovered the root of the matter and encouraged her to go to therapy. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Since your wife feels excluded, but also think about how you're spending so much more money on yourself by taking an entire vacation, more than her every year. Also, you're sticking her with solo childcare for the time you're gone, so that's probably pretty hard too. If I were her, I would definitely feel like you don't want me or kids around, as if we're some kind of burden. I would say no a-holes here. I totally get where you and your sister are coming from, and it's very thoughtful to give back to your mom. But consider this, family traditions can change, especially as a family grows. Why not include your and your sister's family? Also, I assume as a grandmother, your mom would want to see your grandkids more often. Your wife is absolutely right that you're excluding her and your kids though. Neither of you should be judged harshly for your feelings on this issue. No a-holes here. I understand your wife feeling excluded, but I totally get you wanting to keep this to you, your mom, and your sister to recapture some lost opportunities as a child. I wish I could offer you some advice or possible solutions, but this situation really has me stumped. Maybe everyone is going, but you, your sister, and mom stay in a different room and maybe only meet up with your wife and kids on occasion during the vacation. But something tells me if you proposed that, it would make it even worse. Story 3. Am I the a-hole for choosing our dog over a child? So basically, my wife has always wanted children. I'm fine with our sweet fur baby, but we've also tried for a baby sometimes, and I would be fine if she got pregnant with my child. Recently, my wife's relative was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and there have been talks about what to do with her 3-year-old if she dies. The dad is not in the picture. My wife suggested that we take the child in since she's close to that relative and enjoys spending time with them. The problem is that the child has a dog allergy. Every time the brat comes over, he wants to play with our pup, and inevitably he ends up wheezing with drippy eyes and needing to be strapped to a weird breathing machine. I know kids are effing stupid, but he's literally endangering his life every time he comes over. It's disgusting and infuriating. I brought this up with my wife and she said that we would just need to keep our dog outside and make sure that the kid stays away from him. I told her that that was ridiculous. Taking a dog's home away because of some kid is just insane. She claimed I was putting a dog's happiness above a child's. But the way I see it, it would be traumatic for both parties to have the kid stay with us. But if the kid goes to literally any other home, the trauma would be limited to the kid. My wife made me feel heartless, but I'm just trying to think logically. The kid is going to have a rough time no matter what, but that doesn't mean I have to completely restructure my family. Am I the a-hole? Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Your wife didn't make you feel heartless, you are heartless. Look, I'm usually very sympathetic to pet owners and love my cats dearly, but the way you are talking about this child is disgusting. It's a kid. They don't know any better, and you're calling this child disgusting brat and other things. You're the a-hole here for sure, and not because you love your dog, but because of the horrible dismissive and just terrible way you speak about this kid. You're the a-hole for your use of the word brat here. They are 3 and their only parent is dying. You clearly shouldn't be adopting this child because of your attitude and feelings towards them. The fact you have a dog and the child's allergic is the least of it. I can understand why you're using this excuse, as it's much more socially acceptable than "I don't love the child." But I can see why your wife thinks you're being an a-hole. If you did love the child, this would be a ridiculous reason to refuse to take them in if their single parent died. Everyone sucks here. Not wanting to adopt a kid that doesn't fit into your life is fair, especially if it involves getting rid of something as close to you as a dog. However, your logic is weird and cruel. You have no reward for the kid and don't view it as an individual, but akin to an object. It's okay to refuse this, but you're doing it by attacking the child. On the other hand, your wife shouldn't be pushing for you to adopt this kid so much if you're not 100% on board. You're going to be miserable. As well, from what you said in your post, I feel it would be a huge mistake on both your parts. I think you need to sit your wife down and have a serious conversation.